We are speaking to Andrew, he, him from New Jersey, is a theist who wants to explain why purity culture has value. Andrew, you are live on Chewed Gum with Luxander and Taylor. How's it going?
How y'all doing, guys? How y'all been?
Living the dream.
Andrew.
All right. You want me to explain why I think purity culture has value?
Yeah, please lay it out for us.
Sure.
Well, I think it has value because I think it like when it comes to like, overall, here's what I think. I think it has value because it has some of the best outcomes. Like for instance,
like what?
Like virgins who get into relationships, they're just more likely to stay together. And they're more likely to get married too. Now, to be fair, after one or two partners, cheating does go up, but then at 5 or 6, they're more likely to stay together again. But anything over 10, they're more likely to cheat again. But the best outcomes are, people who are virgins and they stay together. They're more likely to have the best relationships and the best marriages too.
What do you mean by best?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
No.
I mean, I just want to know how you're defining, the quality of these relationships. What do you mean by they have the best outcomes? Do you mean, they don't get divorced as often, or there's less domestic abuse, or there's better, results in childbearing? I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, to start off, they're much less likely to cheat. That's number one. And two, they have the best marriage rate, so they're more likely to stay married in good marriages. Now, the impure culture, which is the more promiscuous culture, they're more likely to have STDs and disease and kids out of wedlock and stuff like that. That's why I think I know women, they're more likely to have HSV1 and 2 and all those other diseases. So I just think that purity culture is a good thing, in my opinion.
Did you want to jump in, Taylor?
I was just going to say you were kind of making it seem like one of the main important things to you is that people stay together in long-term relationships, but not everybody cares about that. There's people who are perfectly happy in all sorts of situations, or even people who are perfectly fine with divorce if they do take that route of long-term relationships. So do you think that changes anything?
Andrew, are you outside or something?
People, you can be happy doing all sorts of bad things.
Andrew,
people that are happy doing drugs.
Andrew.
I don't know if he can hear you.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
All right. Are you outside or something? Because we're getting a lot of background noise.
Hello?
Are you outside?
Okay, I don't think he can hear you, Morgan. So we were just wondering, are you outside? Because there's something like wind or something in your microphone that's really loud.
Yeah, they're working outside in my apartment again. Yeah, I'm outside. Can you hear me clear now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. Just because I think people can be happy doing all sorts of things that's not good for them. I guess you could say sleeping around is, good for some people, but in the long run, it's not good because most of the people that I know personally that sleep around, they end up catching something. I hear a lot of dudes complain about this, how some woman gave them something, or how, especially when I was growing up, I know a lot of parents that had dudes coming in and out of the house, things like that. And I don't think those things are good. I mean, but I guess it might be good if you want to sleep around, I guess.
But to me, that just kind of indicates that we just need more education on those things, because there are plenty of people who, sleep with who they want and they get tested, and so does their partner, whoever they're with. So there are ways to avoid stuff like that, which is education. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree, but
I don't think the solution to that would be getting married.
Most people who sleep around, I've never heard of anybody who sleeps around not catching something. I've never heard of that. I mean, like, even in the porn industry, they all have high rates of herpes and all kinds of disease. I never heard, like, people who sleep around a lot, they never caught anything. Yeah.
I've actually heard the opposite when it comes to sex work. That there's a lot, like, when...
I think it's really interesting, and I want to just like jump in here because I think honestly the communities, Andrew, that you would describe as like the most impure cultures actually have really, really good track records on these things. Like the polyamory community, very, very open about having discussions regarding safe sex and like making sure we're not spreading disease and having really open conversations about that. The queer community also is really on top of these things. Like that's part of why like monkeypox recently was associated with the gay community, is because the gay community is the ones who's checking on that. Yeah, you're really loud again in the background, Andrew.
Okay, there was some cars that drove fast. It's good now.
So polyamory and queer people and kink associated people and sex workers, like the groups that you would probably consider the most impure, actually have some of the best statistics on like low rates of unwanted pregnancy, low rates of unwanted STIs. Like, you know, the queer community obviously has to be really on it with STIs because of the prevalence of HIV, which is like much less prevalent now and is actually more prevalent now in straight communities, being passed on by people who don't even know that they have HIV because y'all don't test for anything. So I just think it's really interesting that there's this association between like impure culture and like sickness and like dirtiness. You know, like we refer to having an STD as being like unclean. But like the most morally impure people from your perspective are the least likely to have those kind of problems.
Well, if you're both virgins and you stand together in a relationship, you literally can't catch anything. Like if both parties are, you know, they get married while they're virgins and they're not, you know, cheating, how can they catch anything? You can't catch any disease if you're both faithful and married or whatever. But in Houston, Texas had a 150% STI rate. You know, and the same thing happened in Atlanta
Texas?
too.
You said Texas and Atlanta. Texas. So in Texas and Georgia, two states where they have gutted sex education. And in these states, there are higher rates of teen pregnancy. Like when we reduce education, that's when we see more STIs and unwanted pregnancies. So once again, as Taylor was saying, this is a problem of education, not a problem of behavior. There's nothing actually wrong with being sexually promiscuous. There is something wrong with being sexually promiscuous and not using barrier protection and not getting tested regularly. Not a behavioral problem.
But these people know to use protection. What happens is that they don't like the feelings of protection. That's why. Like most dudes don't like wearing condoms. That's the problem. They all know.
You know what's crazy is that I have had dudes tell me that, but I've also had dudes tell me that one time a condom broke on them and they didn't even know until after they finished. So it's like, oh, it feels so different. But if you don't even notice when you're in the middle of it, like I'm not believing this story that it feels different substantially. Like it's just silly.
Well, no, yeah. For example, amongst Black women, right, STDs is sky high. Like they have a lot of disease in the Black community, you know, and I hear a lot of dudes talk. They just say, "Oh man, I don't like the way that feels. I don't like condoms or whatever." You know, I hear that a lot. Now I don't know what community you live in, but I live in a Black community, and it's bad. And everybody around here knows about STIs. They know about protection. They know about all this stuff, but they don't care. They don't care about that. They just care about feel good. That's all that matters.
What if we introduced the female condom and we started popularizing its use? Have you ever heard of the female condom, Andrew?
I never heard of the female condom, no.
So basically what it is it's a condom that fits inside the vagina or inside the anus. It can go either way, really. And it basically like has a little plastic ring on the inside that kind of props it open a little bit. And how it basically works is it just sits inside the orifice. And then the person who's having sex with that person can like experience the full range of frictional motion and still have safe sex. So do you think that we should invest more money in availability of internal and female condoms to protect against STIs?
Yeah, you can do that. I just don't think that the vast majority of women, especially Black women, are going to use it. Like, you can invest all the money you want, but they're not going to use it. I mean, but my thing is, I was just calling as to why I think, purity culture has value. I'm not saying that if you go out and you having sex, that you can't protect yourself or whatever. I was just calling to explain my position why I think purity culture has value. Because I think purity culture gets demonized. Like, if you don't support people like sleeping around and stuff like that, or if you support women being virgins, you get a lot of backlash for that. Like, it's only like even in Texas, Texas, I don't even think Texas is that religious anymore. Like, Texas is filled with degeneracy.
I think probably people don't really like the way certain people talk about it, because it comes down to like this weird, like, are you pure, are you not? And it's really degrading to talk about people like that. And like, I feel like a lot of women feel that because, oftentimes like they're the ones being called out for being promiscuous and not the other way around. So I don't know, that's probably why people don't like that kind of talk, because they know what it leads to. It leads to a lot of toxic things that hurt a lot of people.
No, that's actually true. Men are actually slightly dependent on the disease. They're more likely to have certain STIs, like gonorrhea. I know it's high in men, especially in black men. It's high. So I don't promote men sleeping around either. I want men to get married, to their wives, or if they're not going to get married, have one girlfriend. I'm not for side chicks and jumping around here and there. Like, I know people that did that. My father did that. He slept around with different women, had all these babies, and I don't think that's good.
Well, okay, so I think that maybe you are not understanding kind of the question that we're asking, because like, I think there's a difference between saying avoiding having sex is a way to protect yourself from STIs and pregnancy. Like, that is a fact. And it is a fact that is presented even in the most comprehensive forms of sex education in this country. There's a difference between that and purity culture. So purity culture is like, it is a cultural thing. So like, everyone in your community has this behavior and belief system that devalues people for engaging in sexual behavior. It's not just saying like, we recommend that you avoid having sex until you're married for these reasons. It tends to have a lot of moral shaming involved. And like, the name of this show, Chewed Gum, like, there's this idea that's taught to young people, particularly young women, that if they have sex, they're no good anymore and nobody's going to want them. So I don't know, like, what do you think about the idea of purity culture?
I agree with you on that. I agree that, in the purity culture, like in the more strict religions, not just people who self-ID as Christian or Muslim or whatever, there is a lot of shame in those religions, because they want to keep they want to keep purity, because that's just a religion. But I think that there's a lot of also shame that goes towards purity, like, people who are Puritans, like, you have a lot of dudes say, oh man, he's lame, he's corny, he's a virgin. Like, people don't like virgins. I know a lot of girls, they don't like virgins. Like, if a guy says he's a virgin, a lot of girls don't like that. They find it weird or whatever. And so it's shaming on both sides. Like, you got purity people, they do the shaming, but the people who practice a lot of sex, they shame the Puritans. They call them corny, they call them lame, stuff like that. So it's on both sides.
Oh, Taylor, you might be muted.
Oh, sorry. I think
there you go.
I know what you're saying, but the thing is, they're not, in my opinion, they are not equally as harmful, because that purity thing that Christians teach, like purity culture, that impacts things like our laws, which take away like reproductive rights and stuff like that, and it affects sex education. And if your version of sex education is just saying that you should be abstinent, it doesn't typically work as well as if you give people all the information they actually need, which has been proven to like lessen, getting STIs or teen pregnancies. So I don't know. I'm not thinking that the solution to all this is getting married. I think if I think people would still do the same thing, but maybe in their marriages. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's better that people are upfront with it, like what they want to do.
So, Taylor, you're for more promiscuity, so long as you believe that women are safe with, in your opinion.
No, I'm for whatever people want to do. I don't care if people wait until marriage. I don't care how many people they want to sleep with. I would not like advocate for one way or the other, honestly.
So you don't care if, if I guess if you had like a daughter and she's like, I just want to sleep around, I want to have fun, I just want to sleep with a bunch of different dudes, you don't like care about none of that stuff?
My first priority would be educating my child, like to the best of my ability, and then, just kind of talking to them seriously about their risks and stuff, because depending on like what age, you only have so much control over your child. Also, I'm not a parent, so honestly, I can't talk much about that because I just have never been in that position. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but
yeah,
that's why
I
I
remember
think.
you said you didn't.
But that's why I
Go
think
ahead.
that it should be in. That's why I think it should be in public schools, though, like sex education, because then, it doesn't matter. Like kids in public schools who don't have parents to tell them about that stuff can still learn about it and can still learn how to do it safe if they're going to do it. And a lot of times, Christian parents push against sex education in public schools, which I think is a problem.
So I mean, like, what kind of sex education are you talking about? Like, I think that everyone in this country knows that if you have unprotected
No.
sex, you can get STDs.
No.
Like, nobody knows that?
There is so much misinformation when it comes to like how you can get pregnant or the spreading of STIs. I can promise you that there's a lot of misinformation out there.
I mean, even when I was growing up, they had sex education. I mean, like
Well, right now, Andrew, we're
I
living
haven't.
through a conservative backlash where these things have been reduced. Like I'm 30 and when I was in school, I had really comprehensive sex education. Like I took a health class that was an entire semester and we spent like an entire month on like an entire month of going to class, like 3 times a week on the human reproductive cycle and all these kind of things. But that is not the access to information that people have. And right now we are living through this world where, okay, it's being restricted in the schools or it's opt-in only. And lots of parents are opting their kids out. And they're not educating their kids themselves because they feel awkward talking about these topics, or they just tell their kids, no, don't do it at all. And then the kids do it anyway, or they rush into marriages as soon as they turn 18, which is definitely a thing that I have heard people talk about. Like it's like from their religious background. Rhett and Link, the famous Good Mythical Morning guys, they talk about their relationship with their religion and with their wives, and how they came from this purity culture and they didn't have sex until they got married, and how dysfunctional that was for them as young people. So like that aspect of it, I think, is also a harm. And then like also, we now live in the day and age where we are restricting access to information just broadly on the internet, like the Kids Online Safety Act, where they're limiting access to this information. So teenagers are put in this position where they simply do not have the ability to get the information from anywhere. And like, oh, the school's library is being attacked for having sex education materials in the public school library. So yeah, I don't know where young people are supposed to get this information in this day and age where we are actively restricting this information from them.
Okay, fair enough. So what is it about, the sex and the reproductive the reproductive system that you think kids don't know, or young adults don't know that they because most of the people I would figure that they knew about STIs and having kids if they have sex out of wedlock or whatever, or like if you're going to engage in sex,
I've just told you that this information is being withheld from them, like actively withheld. This information is being taken away from them. And like many times, yeah, like in abstinence only states, they're clearly not being told that there are options for preventing pregnancy, or they would probably be using them. So like access to information is being limited. Access to condoms themselves are limited, especially as like nonprofits who normally provide those things are being underfunded or attacked for simultaneously providing support to trans people or something. Yeah, like I just don't see the value, as Taylor has been saying, like in the solution to this problem is to get married. Because we don't actually think, I don't think we have good statistics on outcomes for marriages where you waited to have sex until you got married. I've heard anecdotally, and I can't rely on that as data, but I've heard anecdotally that it can be quite troublesome, or people end up getting divorced because they find out that they're sexually incompatible, or they rush into things and they have a rocky relationship because they got married before the age of 20 years old. Like, I didn't get married before the age of 20 years old because of purity reasons, but I can tell you that that's a quite difficult thing to work through, even if you end up staying with that person long term. So yeah, I just don't think the solution is like get married and then no one will ever have STIs or unwanted pregnancies.
Andrew,
yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to also point out, it's not like a bunch of people don't know that condoms are a thing. It's like specifics. It's like there are people out there who don't think you can get pregnant on your period. There are people out there that think pulling out is enough. There are people who think you can't get pregnant your first time. Like there's just like all these things, and a lot of them aren't true. And if they don't have any education on it, how are they're going to find out it's not true by something bad happening, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, if they don't, if there's a bunch of people out there that don't know that, the pull-out method, they don't know about the pregnancy and stuff. So, I understand your point. I guess I understand your point. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying that. I get what you're saying. Everything that you're saying is valid. I was just calling as to why I think purity culture, is good. I'm not saying that you can't practice safe sex and everything like that. You could be completely safe. I don't know too many people who slept around a lot and didn't catch anything. That's almost like almost like a myth to me. But I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there that had a bunch of sex and didn't catch nothing. I mean, they must be the most luckiest person on earth. But that's all I was calling about.
I think maybe we just don't agree on what purity culture is. And I'm okay with just agreeing that we don't have a mutual understanding of what that means. Like your response to the idea of purity culture resulting in a lot of shame and stuff, like your response to that was basically to just point fingers and be like, well, what about this other shaming? Which I guess is your way of agreeing that it's bad that purity culture shames people, but you're still thinking that purity culture is a good thing, despite the fact that it results in like actual trauma that people have to go to therapy for, as they like feel like their self-worth has been undercut, or they've like lost their family members because of their behavior. You realize that there are girls who grow up in purity culture who get disowned by their families because they were raped. Like this is what purity culture is. And I don't think that you actually support purity culture, Andrew, because I don't think that you would support that level of like heinous disregard for human well-being. I think that you believe that abstinence is good, and I can say that's fine for you to believe that. I don't think that you actually support purity culture, or at least that maybe you don't understand that those are two very separate things. And I agree with you. Abstinence is a great way to avoid pregnancy and STIs so long as you do not get sexually assaulted. But obviously, that is not a sufficient message in order to actually prevent harm and the types of harm that you want to prevent. Like you want to prevent unwanted pregnancy. You want to prevent STIs. Yeah. Saying we should not have sex ever is clearly not the functional solution to the problem of STIs and unwanted pregnancies. But I'll let you get a last word in, or I'll let Taylor get a last word in, and then we're probably going to move along.
Okay. Last question. Yeah.
Go ahead. You go first.
So, my last point, then I guess y'all can move forward. Do you think that there are any sexual acts that should be shamed? Like, is there anything?
If it's
non-consensual,
causing harm to another person.
Yeah, sure.
So, like things like if it's consensual, it's fine. Things like incest and stuff like that, that's all fine.
Taylor, do you want to go down this path? Because this is this is a continuance of the conversation if we go on here.
I don't think I want to go down that hole.
I don't want to drag it out. I don't want to drag it out. I was just asking, like, is there anything I think, because I don't think
there are unique situations where we could discuss the challenges to how to do things safely. I think with incest, it's difficult to have that be like a safe and fully consensual situation because of the myriad power dynamics that exist between family members. Like, hypothetically, like twin gay brothers who could never have children. Hypothetically, that's like a situation where I couldn't give less of a shit. But like in general, my policy is going to be like, let's not do incest. So like, yeah, but I think in many situations, consent is the big thing.
And I think one of the main reasons people aren't obviously in favor of incest is because if they do happen to get pregnant and have a baby, it's, harmful in the long run. So it's not great. And they're doing that willingly. So that's not good.
Well, what if they decide to do it and they say, we're not going to have no kid? Would it be okay then?
I'm gonna defer back to there are too many power dynamics to be able to just say, sure, it's fine. There are secular reasons to oppose those kinds of relationships, I think. And again, mostly it's predicated on the idea that consent can be coerced by the power dynamic inherent to these situations. So, yeah.
But that is true. But there's power dynamics in almost every relationship. There's power dynamics.
That's true. We should abolish heterosexuality because of the inherent power dynamic.
Right, Andrew?
Well, heterosexuality leads to reproduction.
Yeah, well, reproduction kills a lot of women. That? So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I was just calling in to get my thoughts. I appreciate the call.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. We appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
I think he called last week and said the same thing.
Yes, people in the chat were like, "Oh no, yeah, that was wild."
And he asked me an incest question at the end last time too, I think. But it was like more bizarre than that one that I don't want to repeat. But yeah,
bro really wants to get down with his stepsister, I guess.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that last clip on Chewed Gum. You can catch us live Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Central Time. And please tell your Christian friends to give us a call and let us know why they believe in God. You can also support us by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And head over to patreon.com/calltheline.